Hi everyone. Welcome back to our another episodes of Words Unveiled, author conversation with White Falcon. I am Nancy from Team White Falcon Publishing. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, a legendary figure of unparalleled valor and vision, embodies the platform of epitome of courage and leadership. His legacy resonates through the annals of history, inspiring reverence and admiration. To pay homage of his enduring spirit and honor his contribution to our nation's heritage and identity. Today we have Khushwant Pawar, author of book History of Deceptions, uncovering the true history of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. History of Deceptions is the English translation of Prati-Itihas, originally published in Marathi. Khushwant Pawar is a professional over 2 decades of corporate experience, and that has nothing in common with history. Yet, a non fiction reader within him has been following history in his quest for truth. He has an intense curiosity about historical incidents and how they could have transpired to the extent that he questioned content of Prati-Itihas as well. I would like to mention about the author of original book Prati-Itihas, Chandrashekhar Shikhare. Retired as an executive engineer in Public Works Department, Maharashtra, he is a civil engineer by profession but an avid student of history, philosophy, and psychology. In an award winning career of 37 years, he has closely witnessed the socio political fabric, beliefs, custom, and awareness of history across the state. Hello, sir. Thanks for giving your time today.
Hello, Nancy.
Yeah. Could you start by giving us a brief overview of your book and what inspired you to write about Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj?
Yeah. So, inspiration is Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj himself. It's everything for most of the people in Maharashtra, right from a prudent king to a visionary leader to someone who was able to fight against the tide. If we take a view of the current corporate world, it is like taking on the big conglomerates through a small startup. And that is where it started resonating with me that someone who has valor, someone who has capability to organize people, someone who has the acumen to tactically, strategically, and also militarily take on all of these big regimes around the state. There has to be something special in the person to really start, execute, and deliver persistently. So he started his campaign in 1646, took the first Fort Torna, and then went on through all the ups and downs of the establishment of Swarajya. Of course, it's called Hindavi Swarajya, but not in the Hindutva way Swarajya. It was a very pluralist kingdom that he established. Organized the energies of various castes, various people from several religions together, and then created this kingdom, which was against exploitation,
Right.
which was against the feudal controls of those days, were very oppressive. And he was the one who actually decayed that exploiting system, an organized syndicate to exploit the masses. And that was the success. That was a drive for him, and eventually he was successful in establishing the kingdom. So that sort of summarizes why I want to write about Shivaji, because Chhatrapati Shivaji brings in all of these elements: great, vision, execution, strategy, military tactics, and general administration. Also, the reforms that he brought in, several things that we can learn even today and is going to be relevant for quite some time. So that's my inspiration.
Right. So, absolutely, sir. And your passion for this subject shines throughout in your writing, making the book more engaging and captivating. So, could you share some interesting anecdotes or lesser known facts about Chhatrapati Shivaji that you have uncovered during your research?
Okay. So, one interesting fact is the feudal lords used to tax the masses or the peasants arbitrarily. There was no system, not in the Mughal regime, not in the Adil Shahi, Qutub Shahi, all the regimes around. Sorry, nobody had it. Only thing is, in Qutub Shahi regime, there was a Prime Minister Malik Ambar. He was a Hajj, and he was from slave. He raised up to becoming the Prime Minister of Qutub Shah. He had implemented a rational system for taxation, and Chhatrapati Shivaji in Swaraj came up with even more how do you call it, evolved system over and Malik Ambar's system. Shivaji had ensured records of all the lands that were with every peasant, so there were records maintained. The land was measured. The measure that is being used, I mean, today we use a scale which is based on MKS system. There was a certain measure which was consistent across the kingdom for measurements, and the taxation policy was such that it was dependent on the output or the produce, so that the peasants would also pay taxes. He would encourage incubation, as in people who want to settle in the state were given lands, 3 years of tax savings. Now this is amazing, right? This is what all the incubation centers eventually do. So that's one interesting part which I felt he brought this kind of reforms. Unlike the popular version that we understand, yeah, he used to be always in military combats. No, general administration was beyond par for those days, for Middle Ages. Second thing is the elements like Ramdas Swami or Dadoji Kondev. These people had no connection with the establishment of Swaraj nor with Shivaji Maharaj also. Dadoji Konde, of course, for a couple of years, they were together when Shivaji Maharaj moved to Pune. But there was no way he could have any impact on the Swaraj or even in making Shivaji a prudent king. But the distorted versions of history have promoted it so wide and deep that countering these false claims, these fictitious stories, is kind of difficult. So the book covers these parts also. And third interesting part was the way Jizamata was involved during the establishment of Swarajya, the way Shahaji Raje, his father, was supporting him and also was an inspiring figure in his life. All of this has been undermined, by the way, in the history textbooks. So the book covers it at length. But especially Jizamata, because she was also involved in local administration when Shivaji was in campaigns. So that gives a perspective that it was a very progressive society that was being created. It was not a regressive kind of a kingdom which curbed women rights or exploited peasants. There was a fair. It was a just kingdom. That's what I would say.
So, sir, the facts that you have mentioned. So, have you collected them through the reference of books, or you got a chance to visit some historical places, or met any individual? Like, how you gather these facts?
Okay. So first thing is the facts were gathered by Mr. Chandrashekhar Shikhare, the original author of this book. So he spent a lot of time. The book was published in 2004. Now, when we started the translation journey, first thing that he told me was that history is always going to be uncovered. New facts are going to come up. So don't shy away from pointing out if something is inconsistent or incorrect, which has transpired into 2004 release. Just let me know, we will talk about it. So that free hand was there. So I got an opportunity to actually even validate most of the facts. There are some 376 references quoted by Mr. Shikhare in the original book. I have, along with him, validated almost all of them. I think on 3 accounts, we were able to identify that there is some change in the references. So we accommodate it accordingly. Visiting these facts was mainly visiting through books because it's an academic exercise. It is references taken from the 19th century, taken from the 18th century, taken from the 17th century, and taken from the 16th century, and a correlation of how the history has been distorted. That is how it is presented. So it's a scientific way of looking at history. And my work mostly has been very academic, sitting besides Mr. Shikhare, trying to understand why, where this reference comes from. Please show it to me. I don't think this is how it should have been, these kind of things. Yeah, it was interesting. But every conversation has been very enriching, and some places that I feel that I would want to really visit are the way Shivaji Maharaj came, the route that he took from Agra to reach Raigad in very stressful and very life-threatening situations. Of course, there are some targets, visiting some forts and all, but that was not part of this exercise.
So, given the current discourse around identity and heritage, how can the story of Shivaji Maharaj contribute to a more inclusive understanding of Indian history and culture among today's generation?
Oh, that's a very valid question, and it's a big one actually.
Right.
You mentioned identity and heritage. Identity and heritage in a social context are very meaningful, but they are highly abused given the political discourse. Identity and heritage both have been used or maybe abused, misused to create radical moments, to create differences in societies. You take simple example. I mean, I work in automotive industry. That is one of my identity. I live in Pune, so that is my another identity. I live in Pune for over a decade now. I have studied in some place. That is my another identity. I am of some caste, given the Hindu caste system. I have that identity. I am a Hindu, and that is my identity.
Yeah.
I am an Indian. That is my identity. Identity are various, covers that are linked to an individual. Okay. The moment one starts organizing people based on their identity and using it as a force to achieve some objective, then it becomes a movement. Right. But the moment, if it is going to divide the society, by and large, that is not a good thing. So when we look at Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, he organized people not based on these divisive identities. Instead, it was more inclusive. When we say that Shivaji established his kingdom leveraging the Chhatrapati Jati, which is 18 different types of castes. Chhatrapati means there are 18 ways of wearing the turbans. Pagad is turban. Turbans, so varies. Yeah. So Chhatrapati castes, he organized, and then he set up the kingdom. He also did not have any, religious conflict with Muslims as such. His own army and his own administration had several Muslim generals, several Muslim, comrades, I would say, who supported him in setting up or establishing the Swarajya, and they had great feats also. Right. In fact, one of them ended up to be the commander-in-chief for his army, for Shivaji's army. Now, that shows that it was a non-casteist, it was a religiously sort of neutral, liberal, secular, you name it, whatever. But it was an inclusive society. Inclusiveness can happen if you organize your moment around larger good rather than narrow boundaries. And narrow boundaries, I mean, religion happens to be a narrow boundary these days because we are trying to undermine the other religion using this boundary. Same applies for heritage. When we say heritage, it is art, literature, architecture, it is the science, maths that we have created in past. When you look at all of these, the moment we start saying our heritage is better than somebody else's heritage, but what is heritage? It is amalgamation of what has happened over the last 300, 400, 800 thousands of years. So do we say that 300 years ago, we don't have an heritage because it is influenced by something? No, that's part of our heritage. We should accept it. We should embrace it. If we can do something better with it, that's fine. If not, at least not use it to politicize or create issues out of non-issues. So reading Shivaji Maharaj's history will give insight into these kind of things. Shivaji Maharaj never built, big palaces for himself. All that was built was forts, which were strategically, tactically important for the kingdom. Yeah. And now they were forts. They were defense, forts. Obviously, they got destroyed in the conquests later on. A lot of them were destroyed by enemies, local enemies, internal enemies. Everything has happened. But now what we inherited as heritage from there was the structure and the struggle and the meaning of the struggle, which obviously was not religious struggle. So if we are able to, um, if youth today is able to shed away the illusion created around identity and heritage, I think reading history would have served its purpose.
Right, so definitely. And I think we all should embrace our history, and today's youth should be more, go back and know what history is about. And because this story has the potential to promote inclusivity, resilience, empowerment, and pride in Indian heritage among today's generation. So,
Absolutely.
yes. So, how do you think Shivaji Maharaj's strategy for governance and administration can offer insight into effective leadership in today's political landscape?
Okay. Today's political landscape is by and large unilateral or centralized power kind of administration. Okay. And the kingdoms of those times, like Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's kingdom, was also kind of centralized power. But he had, in his own way, a lot of federal structure also. Most of the Watandari system, the feudal lords were still existent. But what Shivaji Maharaj changed in his administration as compared to the Mughals or the Adil Shahi or Qutub Shahi was he stopped giving he stopped allotting Jagirdaris going forward. I mean, Jagirdari was the right that this is my Jagir and I will collect the taxes and I will forward the taxes so I can arbitrarily amass wealth. Okay. That system he stopped completely. He did not allot any more Jagirdaris after a certain period. All that he was reward system included inams, which is like a big landmass. You can cultivate it, you can do whatever you want, but you will also pay taxes in the end for the same. So that it was a treatment. It was a reward for meritorious people, but it was not creating more feudal lords. Okay, no more barons to be created. That's a very big change. Now, how this part relates to today's part is so the feudal lords of the past are currently some administrative class, which includes the bureaucracy, a bit of bureaucracy, a bit of politicians who become bigger in a certain way, and also the corporates. Now, all of this forms a cartel, and that becomes powerful. The feudal system of those days, I see it as a triangle of these three, or combination of these three. Now, decentralizing the Jagirdari is sort of eliminating any kind of influencing of the influences on the power. So, which is the crony capitalism and extremely powerful politicians having influence on the policies, that needs to be eliminated based on those ideas, eliminating the Jagirdari. Second important part is it had a lot of it had a subtle way of hearing to appeals, listening to what the masses want. Dissent was not discouraged. In today's administration, dissent is completely discouraged. There is no way you can express your dissent. If you are expressing, there will be other ways to deal with you. The third was it was kind of a social movement, more inclusive, which is currently more polarized. Plus, even within let's say the Hinduism, there is a lot of groupism based on whatever caste supremacy and other things. So these kind of things definitely need to be eliminated. Of course, in the Middle Ages, it was still the times where people used to fight wars. Now the wars are fought in a different way. Tactically, there are several things that can be done. One of those is being rational when we treat peasants, when we treat all the elites. There was the elitist culture was almost inexistent in Shivaji's kingdom. Now, apparently, we see not only this administration for that matter, even the previous administration, there has been an elitist culture that maybe we don't need it going forward.
So, by drawing the inspiration from his principle and practices you have mentioned, Leaders in today's political landscape can strive to build more responsive, accountable, and inclusive governance systems
Absolutely.
yes, that address
Accountability was the perfect thing. Accountability. You are answerable to your people. There
yes,
will be a question asked. Please answer. Accept your mistakes. Yeah,
that needs an inspiration for their citizens particularly. So,
absolutely.
so with the rise of social media and digital activism, how can the story of Shivaji Maharaj inspire young people to become agents of change in their communities?
Oh, so social media's reach is unparalleled. We all acknowledge that. In fact, first thing that needs to be done is the incorrect version of history that is pushed into the mass
Right,
that needs to be undone. Of
absolutely.
course, using social media. So that's first thing. Second is for that to happen, the social media influencers themselves need to learn the
Right,
version of history that is validated. They should ideally, sorry, they should first read, study, analyze, and try to make sense out of various versions and make an opinion for themselves. Because unless and until they themselves are convinced, they will not be able to do a fair job. I mean, even if I ask some of the social media influencers with the way they are currently operating, getting paid for all of the promotion that needs to be done, it won't help. It
absolutely.
has to be an internal drive. It has to be an internal drive to do that. And third is activism you mentioned. So social media based activism actually has potential to change the way regimes are interacting with the masses.
Right,
And message through the activism should be that we know that how good kingdoms were. We know how barbaric kingdoms were. We know what was the oppressive system that Shivaji Maharaj brought under control. And now we are leading to the similar oppressive system and it needs to be controlled. This can happen through the social media based activism and not only social media. Why only social media? Activism in general needs to be this.
but I think social media nowadays is a platform where you can spread the content in few minutes only, and no one
Yes.
is judging it what is right, what is wrong, right? We are just going into the likes,
Yeah, yeah.
views, and engagement. We are
Exactly. Nobody validates anything.
yeah,
So I have used a term, I think in the introduction or somewhere, that the unsuspecting masses.
hmm.
Propaganda typically reaches majority of the population, and the unsuspecting masses believe it as is. They don't bother questioning it. Like Ramdas is Shivaji's inspiration and spiritual guru. Nobody questioned it. I mean, I wonder until 1672, 2 years before the coronation, so 46 to 72, there is no communication in these two gentlemen. How did people believe it? Even historians, for that matter. So, questioning what we are reading is extremely important. If we don't do it, uh, I think we are missing the
I
point.
think
And
the user should be smart enough to, while they are following the content and any page, they have to be go through the facts also.
yeah, so I'm a big fan of reading through books.
Mm.
Okay, and my wife, she is a fan of Kindle.
Yeah.
And I know some people who are beyond that. They read only on screens which are like laptop or mobile screens. And then I was reading about this how brain perceives through a book or a Kindle or all of this I was reading. One thing that came was reading a book is more engrossing. Reading through screens is little distractive, but for people or children especially, it can help a lot. Okay, it can help to search meanings of words or something,
Right.
quickly. It is all available there. Now you add artificial intelligence based, digital assistants to this. And while you're reading an historical content or something that has multiple versions, the AI will already pop out and suggest, there are three different versions of the same story. Do you want to check? I think something like that would be very interesting so that unsuspecting masses can actually understand that there are multiple versions to this or this particular content needs more citation. Yeah.
Very well said, sir. So, sir, how do you perceive Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's approach towards women empowerment and support in this time, in his time? And how do you think his principle could resonate with and inspire women's movement in India's society, in today's society, basically?
Yes. Important, very important. So we can start from Shivaji Maharaj's birth itself. Okay. So Jijamata, his mother, was actively involved in training Shivaji, building in this element that is needed, the X factor, what we say, the confidence that yes, I mean, nobody tells a child who is born that okay, look, you have to make a kingdom, okay? No, it doesn't happen like that. It's a gradual process. She learned when she came with Shivaji in this region. Shivaji Maharaj would have been what, 12 years old, I think, in 1646. Obviously he was not of the age that he could really organize everything around to start his campaign. So it was Shahaji, his trusted lieutenants, and Jijamata, who actually started looking at organizing people. Various feudal lords she started bringing together, and this is how the first step of establishment of Swarajya has taken. Okay, taking territories from Adil Shah. It starts. But somewhere this step was done. And this step needed two things. One is the vision to do so, and the other one is the ability to do so. Both these things Jijamata has displayed. Over the period of time, until she was alive, until the coronation, Shivaji Maharaj's coronation, she has played an active role. That shows that in Shivaji Maharaj's kingdom, two things. One is she did not go sati. The sati tradition was still there. So she did not go sati after Shivaji Maharaj, after Shahaji Raje died. Okay, she did not go sati. Very progressive step. Second, she has sailed along with Shivaji Maharaj and captained the boat when he was on campaigns. Right. That is a clear indication that it was a very open society, open for active contribution from women. Okay, acknowledging women. Plus, there are very small and very neat incidents that are quoted in various places, factions of history. So Shivaji Maharaj used to interact with other women as if with utter respect, like as if they are sisters or mothers, or that kind of interaction that he has had. In fact, the foundation of the kingdom was so strong that after Shivaji, after several years, Umabai Dabade was the commander-in-chief of the Maratha army. Okay. Now, this is all in the 1700s. So between 1600s and 1700s, that 150 years span, a kingdom that was set up by Shivaji Maharaj based on meritocracy, based on equal rights for women in that social context. A woman could come to the defense minister, or so commander in chief of the army position, lead the army from front. It is not easy.
Yeah.
Okay, it is not easy in that social context, but it all happened. What has happened is the regressive moments took over after that. Okay, and now what inspired Mahatma Jyotirao Phule to start with women education was several things, including some of these examples. That if Jijamata can do, why not Savitri Bai Phule? If Umabai Dabade can reach a certain stage, how will we be able to uplift the women who are deprived of even social simple rights of stepping out of the home? The popular belief that the regressive forces had created was if women cross the doorsill, it will cause a havoc in the social order. But no, that didn't happen. But the amount of problems and actually ended up in character assassination of Mahatma Jyotirao Phule and Savitribai Phule also. The regressive forces were constantly working against the moments that Phule couple started. But Phule couple being inspired based on Shivaji Maharaj's life, the social order, the respect for women that was there in the kingdom is an indication that there were thinkers who were ready to get inspired, and we should also get inspired by this kind of contribution.
So, sir, thanks for sharing this insights. And what future projects are you working on? And can we expect more books from you in the future?
Oh, yes. My son has told me that you need to write some books, and on the last page of the book, you should have the picture of all of those books. I was like, really? That was very creative way, probably, of telling me that you need to write more. But but jokes apart, I certainly have some ideas. By and large, I am into non-fiction content. So picking up some incidents from various parts of the Indian history, especially the Middle Ages, and bringing in a perspective, mostly based on a similar validation scheme. A parallel, I can give you a parallel, right? So when Shivaji Maharaj was, peaking very, very well, the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb didn't want this to grow. He sent Mirza Raje Jai Singh with a huge army. Shivaji Maharaj had to sign a treaty and surrender a lot of forts, go to Agra, meet, sort of become a dominion for some time of the Mughal Aurangzeb, but he immediately came out of that. Yeah, that's the history. At the same time, when I look, I don't know, maybe about 150 years ago, Akbar had sent Man Singh to do same thing with Rana Pratap, Maharana Pratap. So you see the parallels.
Yeah.
So a Muslim Mughal ruler, emperor, sends a Hindu, commander in chief to restrain another Hindu king. So when was this a religious struggle? So this is the kind of content that I would like to bring out, that identifying where it was religious struggle, where it was not a religious struggle, and what is the illusion that has been created. More or less the focus will be on these lines.
Very nice, sir. And any quick message for your readers?
Oh, the message is, please read History of Deceptions with a very open mind, and feel free to question me or Mr. Shikhare at your convenience, because we are here to write a history which is credible and not fiction or not fictitious versions of history.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking the time to speak with us today. It was truly an enlightening session to hear about your book and your passion for Indian history. To the viewers, you can check Mr. Khushwant Pawar's detailed work and detail as mentioned in bio. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Nancy, and enjoy reading readers.
Sure.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.